Europeans.
If Franklin Roosevelt delivered a nuclear weapon to Hitler and $150 billion in ballistic missiles to carry on terrorist attacks against America and the West, what would you call Roosevelt?
Well, that's not what's happening.
This Obama, you have to say this man is a Jew hater. He doesn't really care if Israel is absolutely wiped off the face of the earth. I don't care what he says. I don't care how much Iron Dome he delivers. What he's doing is he has his legacy by his own determination is to build up Iran and introduce it into the community of nations when it is worse than Nazi Germany, because Hitler hid the final solution. He didn't shout it from the
Wait a minute. You're accusing Obama of being akin to Adolf Hitler?
You know, he's a family member with whatever it is.
David, are you accusing Obama of being akin to Adolf Hitler?
Everything he does is against what Christians stand for, and he's against the Jews in Israel.
You mentioned your Christian faith. Yesterday you took off after the Republicans for suggesting you have Muslim connections. Just a few minutes ago, Rick Davis, John McCain's campaign manager, said they've never done that. This is a false and cynical attempt to play victim.
You know what? I mean, these guys love to throw a rock and hide their hand. Let's not play games. What I was suggesting, you're absolutely right that John McCain has not talked about my Muslim faith, and you're absolutely right that that has not
Christian
come
faith.
My Christian faith.
Obama has gone completely onto the other side. He's now supporting Al-Qaeda. He's supporting the Muslim Brotherhood. He's supporting the Shiites in Iran, even though they're developing nuclear weapons that they could potentially use against Israel. We're no longer fighting radical Islamic terrorism. We're funding it and arming it. We, in a sense, created ISIS. That Obama has supported the Muslim Brotherhood, which is going back to World War II, and the Muslim Brotherhood not signed with Hitler. They've been a radical Islamic destabilizing force determined to destroy Israel and then to destroy the United States.
President Obama making a shocking comparison at the National Prayer Breakfast, equating Muslim extremism to Christianity. When you talk about propaganda, the only thing propaganda does right now is help recruit for ISIS and strengthen the enemy. Let me ask you this. Not only did the president not protect Christians and in fact really go after them, attacking them by invoking the name of Christ yesterday, some would say, but he continued on the path of not calling the enemy what it is, not saying radical Islam. Don't you believe that in not saying that, he's actually protecting radical Islam by not calling it out?
Was moving too slowly, but the fall of Ramadi has galvanized the Iraqi government. So with the additional steps I ordered last month, we're speeding up training of ISIL forces, including volunteers from Sunni tribes in Anbar province.
You can't force the people of Israel who've just elected me by a wide margin to bring them peace and security, to secure the state of Israel, to accept terms that would endanger the very survival of the state of Israel. I don't think that's the direction of American policy.
Meanwhile, there's back and forth with the White House and the State Department saying there may be a change in U.S. policy when it comes to the two-state solution, pushing the UN to pressure Israel to do that. Here's exactly what Prime Minister Netanyahu said before the election the other day about this topic. This is through a translator. Anyone who is going to establish a Palestinian state, anyone who is going to evacuate territories today is simply giving a base for attacks to radical Islam against Israel.
How can you make a peace agreement, a two-state solution, hand over control of the West Bank to a government that includes Hamas, which is not only dedicated to the destruction of Israel, but rules a territory called Gaza, from which it has twice initiated terror wars because it simply will not accept Israel's existence.
The Vatican recognizes Palestine as a state, which Israel isn't happy about. Last month, the Vatican finalized a treaty to bump its diplomatic recognition of the Palestinian Liberation Organization to the state of Palestine. On June 26, the Vatican and Palestine officially signed the treaty into effect.
The Vatican has officially recognized the state of Palestine in a new treaty. The treaty, which was finalized Wednesday but still has to be signed, makes clear that the Holy See has switched its diplomatic relations from the Palestinian Liberation Organization to the state of Palestine.
Pope Francis has met Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas and called him an angel of peace. The meeting at the Vatican came days after it announced a treaty that makes formal its recognition of the state of Palestine.
Breaking news. Israel National News is reporting an article today about a decision by the United States Supreme Court that is agreeing with President Barack Obama about Jerusalem not being part of Israel, that they are internationalizing Jerusalem. Jerusalem is not going to be part of Israel. I'll just reiterate
what I've said previously. I continue to believe that a two-state solution is absolutely vital. The long-term security of Israel as a democratic and Jewish.
The two-state solution, which is actually mentioned in the book of Daniel, chapter 11, verse 39, where it talks about the dividing of the land for gain. And this is what we see that Barack Hussein Obama is pushing for with the international community in order to get the two-state solution finalized, as Obama is the mediator mediating the Antichrist treaty. We see here out of IsraelNationalNews.com, Obama expects Israel to work towards two-state solution on that pressure to get the two-state solution finalized. And that's what Obama's role is in this, is the Antichrist, which is the first beast of the book of Revelation. We see that it's not just the United Nations, not just Obama, not just the EU pushing on this. We also have the world religious leader backing Obama on this. Now, the role of the world religious leader is the false prophet. In the book of Revelation, we see that the false prophet is actually working with the world political leader in order to get the end times agendas going on that deceives the world. And we see in Revelation chapter 19 verse 20, it talks about the beast, which is the Antichrist, working with the false prophet. It says, and the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet. So we see these two working together, and we also see Pope Francis working to push the two-state solution. And we have Barack Hussein Obama working to divide the land for gain, fulfilling the prophecy of Daniel 11:39, fulfilling the role of the Antichrist, working with the false prophet to push for this treaty to get signed.
Look, it looks like Pope Francis and President Obama are in cahoots together to destroy the nation of Israel, to divide it anyway. That the Vatican, ever since Pope Francis has taken over, last year he started this big push for a one world religion. He invited mega pastors, Protestants, Catholic cardinals, Muslim imams, Jewish rabbis, sheiks, geeks, Buddhist priests, Hindu gurus and Maoists and Taoists and everybody else. I mean, and he brought them all to the Vatican last June to pray together to their gods. It's idolatry. He is working on a one world religion. He's working on a one world currency. And now he wants to recognize Palestine as a nation. I can hear in the spirit Jerusalem's cry.
And he has taken an opposite view of Israel, unlike any other president that we have ever had since 1948. His view is anti-Israel. We've never seen that before. So that now, in effect, declared war on Israel from the United States. The reason why, Jan, you and I are talking about this is because we take as true what the Bible says in Genesis about Israel and about nations' response to Israel. We recognize that we have been singularly blessed in the United States because of the way that the United States has blessed Israel over and over from 1948 until recent times. We also know that this isn't a one-sided view in the Bible. The Bible talks about blessing. It also talks about cursing. And we recognize that God is true and his ways are altogether just. If we actually turn our back on Israel, as we are seeing Barack Obama do today, if that happens, then I think we will see a scale and a level of pushback in the United United States negative consequences. I don't know what they are, but I believe that the Bible is true. And I believe that what the Bible says is that our nation and the people of our nation will reap a whirlwind, and we could see economic disasters, natural disasters. The United States does not want to be in that position, and unfortunately, the people put into office Barack Obama, not only once, but twice. And the people have to rise up against his actions and demand that their leaders take steps accordingly.
U.S. Senator and Democratic presidential candidate Barack Obama arrived at the Western Wall on Thursday in the last stop of his 36-hour visit to Israel. Obama was asked to visit the holy place in the early hours of the morning, given the large number of people who visit the wall for morning prayer. Obama read a chapter from the Book of Psalms with the Western Wall rabbi and placed a note in the wall's stones. During his visit to the holiest site in Judaism, the U.S. presidential candidate told onlookers that America loves Israel and the Jewish people and will continue to look out for Israel's security needs.
On a whirlwind three-day trip to the Holy Land. Earlier today, he prayed at Jerusalem's Western Wall, the holiest place where Jews can pray. He bowed his head as he touched the wall and left a note inside an envelope in one of the cracks between the stones.
Minutes after, the rabbi recited a psalm that described Jerusalem as a holy city blessed by God. Pope Francis got closer to the wall and prayed in silence